Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So first and foremost, let's start off with Maggie in the group. Well, you still have your boy, Negan saying, like, let's just run. Daryl literally told us to run, but she's like, no. Like, Daryl knows I would not run. Besides, once again, we can't go back. If we go back empty-handed, our people are just going to starve. But for him, it's like, are we just going to go for, like, a sack of beans? Like, how much is actually there? Which we do. Well, at least Daryl gets a look at some of the supplies left in that, in Meridian, that now Pope and his group is taking over. So he's seen like the full supply of like food and resources that they have. So it's just a matter of kind of getting to that. But obviously there's so little of them left. There's only Maggie, Elijah, Negan, and Gabriel, as well as Daryl. But that's not enough to go up against people who are fully armed like this. So Negan's like, all right, I'm going to make you a promise. I will actually help you out, but you're going to have to let us be even. Which she's like, we will never be even. And he's like, then you will be out one soldier because you are going to need me for what's coming up. So, yeah, like, which is like, once again, it's like, it's so crap of you to do that, considering it's like, you were leaving her for dead, like, only a few episodes ago. This is what, episode 7? Like, you left her for dead 6 episodes ago. It's like, is she supposed to be like, oh, we're all good, we're copacetic? It's just like, that's the complicated thing of like, the man you hate most in this world is right in front of you. You just want to kill him, but you can't, because there's a part of you that knows like he is useful. Because even later on, Elijah's like, do you think he's actually changed? And she's like, I honestly don't know. You can't tell like whether someone's really like, because plenty of people have put up front. She's come across a handful of people who make it seem like they've changed. They've had opportunities, but they kind of backpedal into who they were. I mean, Rick gave the freaking governor a chance. He's like, we can work this out. But he was like, nah, I'm going to take this place. And he killed Herschel in the process. It's like, you know, so you can't really, like, take anyone for face value because, you know, especially Negan being, like, it's like, yeah, it's been a couple years since Maggie's seen it. And yes, he's developed and grown a lot. But he's also shown that somewhere deep down inside, the piece of shit that he was before still exists. It rears its ugly head every once in a while. And, you know, it begs, you know, because the thing is, like, how it depends on where Maggie falls on the perspective of, do you think people are capable of change? Yes or no? And, you know, and it's like, if it were anyone else, she'd probably be willing to give them a shot. But it's like, it's Negan. He's killed so many people. But first and foremost, he killed Glenn. Your son will never get to know his father because of Negan. So it's like, that's a whole can of worms in its own right. But obviously, Negan, they come up with a plan of like dealing with the walkers and planning to take all the, you know, and it makes sense. I mean, you've already gone through the trouble and you've seen how deadly the Whisperers were. So why not take those tactics and utilize them? Especially because Negan was amongst their ranks. So he learned from them how to operate and make this work. So he's teaching Maggie. He's like, oh, slump your shoulders a little bit more. He's good. But the mask she's wearing doesn't fit. And he's like, well, of course it's not going to. I mean, you are wearing someone else's face. He even talked about the fact that he kept his mask, you know, for like sentimental reasons and stuff like that. And she's like, this isn't fun. This isn't fun. He's like, oh, come on. It's not. Like, he made some wisecrack. I'm like, really? I think you're letting this promise she made to you go to your head a little bit because you're getting a little too lax. But I guess it's like, maybe there is some part of Negan that's like, nah, like, because he says like, he's a man of his word and he believes that Maggie is a woman of hers. So it's like, I guess he really truly believes that she's not going to do anything, because I guess at her core, he thinks he knows her enough to know she won't do that because of who. I mean, to be fair, this is the woman that in season 8 did want to kill you so bad, her and Daryl, but then like Rick's the one that ended up saving you. So it changes things a little bit. But it's like, I guess considering everything, like she's had multiple opportunities to kill you and she hasn't. So that's kind of made you go like, Maggie's not going to do it. It's like, I don't know, man. I could definitely see before the end of this series. Who knows? I've never read the comics, so I don't know what Negan's fate ends up being. And even if it is one way in the comics, there's plenty of people that are alive in the comics who are dead in the show. And and vice versa. So, you know, you never know, like, how the show will handle things versus how it was handled in the comic. But, so who knows if Negan's going to make it out, either, like, maybe he makes some grand sacrifice, which you'd be like, he's the self-centered, self-preserving bastard that he is. So that's there. It seems a little less likely, but maybe. And then there's all, you know, maybe it'd be like his ultimate, like, way of making amends. Or maybe Maggie finally goes, you know what, screw it, and pops him. Or stabs him, who knows. I mean, the ultimate irony would be if she, like, bashed his head in, like he bashed in so many others, Glenn in particular. But other than that, tangents and all that aside, in that regard, even Cole did say, like, do you think you can keep your promise? She's like, I hope I can. She's going to try to, but even, like I said, that once again kind of fits with, like, the whole, like, yeah, there's probably a good chance she's going to kill him before the end of the season. Like I said, we'll see how things kind of play out. She sent Gabriel to be, like, a scout, and if you find anyone, kill him. Because Elijah wants one in particular dead. I'm assuming it's Pope, because he said so I was like, I was about to say it'd suck if it was Leah, because I'm curious, like, how that's going to play out, but I think it's going to be mainly a thing of, like, I think it's Pope, not unless it's home dude that was with them that went to the house, like, because I feel like Elijah would have, I mean, granted, it was a situation where they were kind of surrounded, so, like, I feel like his rage would have gotten the best of him, so it's most likely, like, it had to be, like, Pope or something. It'd be interesting if it was actually the guy that, Gabriel ran into, the dude that's got all, like, the guy who was praying and stuff like that. And then, because, like, Gabriel had his weapon ready, and she had said the whole thing of, like, yeah, if you find one, like, try and take him out if you have the advantage. And he did, but he didn't. It's so interesting because the other guy was like, oh, pray for me. And then, like, Gabriel didn't, but I guess it's, like, right, just straight up murdering massacre. Like, I guess it's interesting for him. I guess it's, like, one step forward of just, like, right, I'm ready to cross that line, like, you know, it's like, you've done what you've done, so, like, you know. But then it's like, what changed his mind in this particular case? Was it that the guy did know he was there and just pretending like he didn't? Or was it just because the guy was praying and it hit him? Because it's like, because I don't think he knows that, like, this group, like, I guess maybe he didn't realize, like, oh, this is a religious nut group. Like, they are religious fanatics believing themselves to be chosen by God. So, like, maybe he had run into that one dude, but he never really got any insight into that until maybe this episode. So either he thinks it's just that one guy, or maybe he'll soon find out, like, the entire squad's like that. I'm not 100% sure why Gabriel spared him like he did, and even lied to Maggie later on. She's like, oh, did you run into him? It's like, any of them? He's like, no. Because Maggie and Elijah want them all dead. It's like, after everything that they've done, all that was taken away, it's like, no, we need them dead. But obviously Maggie's getting better and better at the whole thing. And so, obviously, there's a conversation with Negan about, you know, what it's like kind of, you know, watching your entire community be destroyed, something that you build. Which for her, it's like, there's a difference. My community had, like, women and children, like, there were no children at that satellite where we, like, killed all those people. It's like, yeah, but what about Gracie? How did Aaron get her? It's like, oh, you didn't think I knew about that? It's like, but for her, it's like, it's apples and oranges, because for him, it's like, it is a situation of, like, despite everything, he does have some points of just kind of saying, like, right, like, he knows what it's like to have, like, your group massacre people you have to answer for, like, right, these are, like, yeah, there might not have been children, but necessarily, but it's like, hey, these are, like, people's, like, guys, like, girlfriends and, people that they loved ones that I have to answer for, of, like, right, I, as their leader, I didn't protect them, so he's like, I know that weight. But for her, it's like, you talk about, like, families and loved ones and stuff like that, you've killed people's loved ones, even right in front of them in certain cases, and he's like, right, you're 100% right, I have, you know. And then there was a whole conversation about, like, but the world is different now, because there are fewer things to people to fight for and fight with. So in the past, if he know, kind of almost like if he knew what he knew now type of thing, he'd like, I would do things differently knowing the state of things. And she's like, so how would you basically do things differently? And for him, it's like, I would have killed every single one of you. And she's like, how could you say that? More specifically, like, how can you say that to me? Because for him, it's like, we had a good day, you and I, Maggie, and the only way this thing is going to work is if we're honest with each other. And he's like, honestly, I would have killed every single one of you, because maybe in his mind, it's like, because it is, at the end of the day, it's about self-preservation for your group. Like, everyone's out to protect their own group. So it's like, can you honestly tell me if you had the opportunity, you wouldn't have like wiped out my, like, it doesn't get that far, but I think that's where the point of the conversation is. Like, if you had the opportunity, if it meant protecting your people, knowing what you know now, like, if you could do it over again, you would wipe me out too. Because in your mind, it'd also be like, oh, it's going to be, you stop Rick from saving me. You just have like our entire, but also that's the complicated thing, because there's quite a few people from that squad, like Alden, for example, that ended up being part of it. You know, so like there has been good that has come from that. So it's like, so I don't think she would probably look at it necessarily that way. But the fact is, Negan still does. It's like, even with the knowledge that he has now of like how, maybe for him, it's like in the grand scheme of things, maybe things wouldn't have been as bad. There wouldn't have been as much death on both sides if I just like killed all of you. Like, some of my people would still be alive. Like, you know, things wouldn't, you know. But also, it's like, if he had killed them, like, he wouldn't be who he is now. I think he's a better version of himself. Yes, he's still a work in progress in many regards, but I don't know. I just thought that was so fascinating. But they are going out, gathering up their Walker army. And sadly, one of the group of walkers they released had Elijah's sister in it. So it's like, damn. Because they, like, one of the walkers they met early in the episode was Teresa, her best friend. So it's like, right, we'll find your sister. And sadly, amongst the walkers they had gathered, Elijah's sister's amongst them. So, kind of feeding more into that point that Negan was making of, like, right, less to fight for and less to fight with. So, I mean, because even the group they're up against is like a group of like a handful. So that's kind of an interesting element. Another side of things is Daryl and everything, like I said, getting an eye on all the supplies. But some reconnaissance people came back to tell Pope, it's like, yeah, we can't find him. For him, he's so upset because he's like, you can't, there's like a dozen or so people out there. You can't find a single, did you check here? Yes. Did you check there? It's like, yes, yes, and yes. And it's like, he's yelling at them, and then Leah steps up and is like, right, you want to yell at anybody? It's me. I'm the one that told him where to go and stuff like that. So, and he was just like, for him, it's just like he was just snapping, and he was just like, go be useful, you know, because it's like, right, yelling at them ain't going to do any good. And he's like, what are you trying to do? Be honorable? And even Daryl asked her about it. It's like, right, the men are going to appreciate you taking that up, you know, taking that stand for him. She's like, yeah, probably stupid of me, because I think it's like, right, getting on Pope's bad side. But it is a thing of like, yeah, but Pope's just in a bad place. And he's like, oh, like, so once you killed everyone, he'll be better off. Because it's like, the fact is, you took everything from them. You got the place you won. So why are you so adamant about going? It's because, like, right, letting them survive means that they can become an enemy tomorrow, which is something that's come up over the course of these shows as well, too, that notion. So it's like, wouldn't it be better just to wipe them out now? Because they will come back for it. Like, it's a very, very Thanos approach of like, oh, no, I'm going to kill you all now because I made the mistake of letting you live. I shouldn't have let anyone that remembered what was before live, because now they'll strike back. Same thing in this case of like Maggie and them remember what they had and what they've lost. So of course they're going to come back. So it's like, right, we have to kill every single one of them because they will come back, you know? So, you know, and Maggie is striking back in a big, big way. So, because despite everything, like the way he's acting right now for Leah, it's like, it's because of Pope we're here right now. She's like, he believed in me when no one else would. He kind of gave me a place to belong for her. But, you know, Daryl's like, yeah, you've always been strong. Like, I'm sure you never really needed anyone to tell you like how strong you really are. But that's why she'll never fully betray Pope, because she's indebted to him, because he's like, she even says it, like, oh, he's like a father to me. He gave me a place, so it's like I can never betray his trust. They end up running across a guy who has been like trying to get stuff for his wife and his son because his wife is injured. But Pope gave the sign of like, right, like, because Leo was like, I don't know if they're connected to the group, and Pope is like, kill him anyway. It's like, Jesus, which is it's an interesting parallel to like what the Saviors are all about, because like, Negan believed people to be a resource, and hence like that, like people being a resource that needed to survive. So that's why he wasn't as too big on the, like, he wasn't all about like, oh, let's kill everyone in our path type of thing. It's like, no. Whereas Pope and them are, just like, to be fair, Pope seems like he's like a megalomaniac, so he's a little bit just like, I think, the paranoia and just like would things be better, like, once this group is killed, like, oh, he'll snap back to being a good, decent person, but other than that, it's like, I think it's just proof of just, like, how unraveled he is, and, like, no one else is going to question him, because he's the head honcho, he's the reason why you got this far, but no one's going to really go, like, oh, Pope might be a little crazy. It's like, they'll probably use words like, he's a little eccentric, but he got us to where we are, so... But even Leah's having her reservations more and more, as we see, where she's kind of seen Pope. She's indebted to him and owes him everything, but there's also that part of her realizing, like, he might not be the best, doesn't bring out the best in people, and he's definitely not bringing out the best in himself, because the moment they come across that guy and his wife, it's like she's near death, and rather than killing them, Leah lets him go. Tells the father to take off with his son, and the wife say, go, they say their goodbyes, and she's like, thank God for you, because they would have stayed here, and they couldn't do anything for me, and it would have been even more dangerous for them to stay here, because she would have eventually turned. So, Leah couldn't kill her, but Daryl ended up doing it for her, and even him being like, right, there's something I gotta tell you, because I think he was going to open up to her about the truth about, like, right, the group I'm with and everything, but it's like, got interrupted, because at the end of the day, too, we don't 100% know how Leah's going to react. I think he was trying to gauge whether or not he could fully trust her with, like, the information, like, right, those people are my people, and I'm trying to help them, like, we need to take down Pope thing. She might not be ready for that yet. We might be able to cross the line at a point where she'll be okay with it, but if Maggie and them succeed at what they're trying to do, like, overwhelm, Leah might be a little less, like, willing to slide back over to, like, being like, oh, like, Daryl's, like, words, if he tries to bring it up, it's like, no, like, Leah's probably going to double down. If anyone else she cares about that's a part of this squad ends up dead, she's going to be even less likely to listen to Daryl. So, these two sides are probably going to, like, Maggie's plan of, like, her need for revenge is probably going to screw things up, especially because, like, Daryl's going to have to choose between, like, protecting Leah and as well as, like, the group that is his family and everything. So it's like, what are you going to do in that regard? Once again, finding out that Connie's alive, I wonder, is that going to have any impact in that regard? Like, what is that, whether that's going to complicate things in any shape or form or add some clarity in certain regards. We'll have to wait and see where things kind of go from there. But finally, on the other side of things, we have the Commonwealth situation. We find out what Princess, Ezekiel, Stephanie, and Eugene have been up to. Basically, they have to clear certain buildings of walkers and stuff like that, and it's been a couple days. Obviously, Princess is trying to get Ezekiel to take a step back because it's like, your situation's bad, they've got facilities here and stuff like that, but for him it's like, I don't want this to be another thing we have to work off. But for her, it's like, I'm not afraid of a little hard work. I am, like, anti-friends being too stubborn to, and dying because they're too stubborn. So at the same time this is all happening, Yumiko is trying to meet with Miss Milton. She even talks to her brother for a little bit, Tommy, about, because his reservations about, like, right, I don't want to be known as a doctor, and it's like, why is that? Like, he's trying to say, like, oh, everyone has to know their place, because he's like, yeah, I probably would never get a meeting with Miss Milton just because he's like the bakery dude. So it's like, right, I'm low status, like, but it's like, why hide the fact that you're a doctor? Because he says, like, right, it's not just like dad or whatever, it's just the pressures of it all, like, it's like, now he gets to live a happy life. But Yumiko is just, because I guess for him it's like, right, I could never sleep, I was just always overworked. It's like, now I get to just enjoy life. But it's like, she's like, yeah, but the look on your face when you saved people, like, it's ingrained in you, like, because it is a thing of, like, the argument, I guess, could be like, isn't it a little selfish for you to be like, have the skills as a doctor and hide it in a world where doctors are useful? But maybe that's also the problem of, like, right, like, I don't want to be like solely responsible because, like, I guess, like, maybe there are very few medical people, and it's like, no, they've got enough that they don't need me. I just want to live my life, because then you become, like, there has to be some deeper, darker element to that, like him having the reservation that he does. But then her brother gets taken, because it turns out, obviously, Hornsby is making his own moves, trying to help out our group of heroes. And he ends up talking to Yumiko, like, right, he did that to kind of, like, slow her roll, because it's like, right, you going to see Miss Milton is going to, like, screw the pooch on the deal I'm making. Because it's like, right, because by helping your friends, you are kind of in my debt, and with your new position, it's nice to have friends in high places, and eventually maybe you'll do me a favor, which I'm like, which definitely seems like he's definitely aiming for a power grab. Like, he wants Yumiko to be in a position that could help him. Like, either he's going to, like, knock someone else out of position so that he can take that position. Like, he's trying to worm his way back to the top. He seems like kind of that. Like, he could be like a slimy car salesman trying to get, almost borderline like a Simon Carr salesman trying to get you to slime his way to the top type of thing. So it all seemed copacetic. Even Ezekiel coming back better than ever. He's like, oh man, the only thing would be better if I came out with lollipops. He's like, oh, wait, got everyone lollipops. He's like, oh, don't worry about me. I've had several. He's like, we ain't seen Ezekiel like this in a minute. It's like, seeing him like on top of the world feeling great. It's like, oh, they gave me an ID, antibiotics. I'm good. And so he goes off with Princess because Hornsby calls him. It's like, oh, like, you guys follow me. And Eugene and Stephanie end up saving a couple. They're a douchebag couple that they were walking nearby and seeing like hoity-toity and stuff. And so, but they were just like casually having a picnic, and then like walkers came up. And the guy in particular is such a dick that he starts like ridiculing Eugene because it's like, oh, like you ruined our date. It's like, I just saved your life. You could be a little grateful and not be an asshole. Stephanie saved the dude's girlfriend, but she got covered in blood in the process. And then like Eugene punched a dude because he calls Stephanie a bitch because it's like, oh, bitch, look what you did to my girlfriend. He punched him in the face, and she's like, do you know who he is? I was like, that's freaking Miss Milton's son. Come on. Like, regardless, look at the context of everything. He was being a dickwad, but it turns out this was Hornsby's plan. Basically, he wanted to put Eugene and Stephanie in a position where they could save. It's like, dude, you saved the leader, the mayor's son, and it's like, God, you would have been praised. You could have gotten everything you wanted at the end of it. But now Eugene kind of screwed the pooch attacking her son, because even Yumiko's like, oh, like, meeting with her got rescheduled because it's like, right, someone attacked her son, and it's like, so Hornsby's kind of like, right, now the price for us helping you out is even bigger. So your friends can continue clearing places, you can stay here in prison, and your community's kind of stuck dealing with whatever. So you got to give us your location, and it's like, how do I guarantee that you won't harm my community? It's like, look at all the chances we give you time and time again. Here he's like, but you're not answering my question. For him, it's like, you'll just have to kind of take a gamble. And it's like, you never know someone else's true intentions. Like, I don't know. Like, yes, Hornsby was teeing him up, but it's like, at the very least, you could have given them some like Stephanie could have also been like, oh, this is like the Miss Milton. So like, someone could have warned him ahead of time. He didn't know who he was, but also it's like, she's raised her son to be a dickwad because it's like, he can kind of do whatever he wants. Because that explains like why Mercer and the rest were away, because he was like, yeah, like we have our personal guards, because like Hornsby kind of like set that all up. But it's like, I can't wait to meet Miss Milton, because I'm like, you raising a spoiled brat. It's kind of, I think this is probably even more extreme version of like the Alexandria circumstances. Like when they first showed up to Alexandria, wasn't the son named Spencer? He was quite the D-bag. He was kind of aiming for, I mean, to be fair, he had a whole stick up his ass about Rick and them. Just because everything went super sideways, they rolled up and everything. He blamed them for everything going wrong in Alexandria. Blah, 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 blah. Like, this seems like, he seems like he could be an even... Like, and Spencer was kind of like, once again, if his name was Spencer, I want to say it was, he was a piece of shit at the end. Like, karma came back to bite him in the ass. So I can definitely see this, but it's like, a lot of people, I think, because they've lived behind these walls, like they've had, because even Stephanie was like, yeah, like she's not used to it, like clearing places, dealing with walkers, because they've had security, you know, which Eugene was kind of like, yeah, like, but the fact is, it's there, you know, like your brain really kicks in when you need to, you know, which she was like, it's not like riding a bike when you haven't done it for so long, because it's like, a lot of people in that community are going to be soft, they're not going to be ready when things ultimately do go wrong. You need to be prepared, but it's like, complacency will get you dead quick in this world. So it seems like Eugene's not going to have much of a choice but to tell them about Alexandria, but you know, it's like, that's probably not going to work out well. So it's like, who's going to be benefiting the group better? Like the Eugene working with the Commonwealth, or is it going to be Maggie and them trying to take down Pope and get everything from Meridian? Like, I don't know. Because both options could end up sucking and having their own ramifications. It could easily, both sides of things could easily go wrong. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see ultimately how this all plays out going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.